We'll call the meeting to order. Our first order of business is always to say the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you stand, remove your headgear, face the flag, and please join us. What?
Skip roll call.
We haven't done that lately. Ready? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's take a quick roll call, because I didn't. Just please acknowledge your presence. Bob, here. Brenda?
Here.
Katie?
Here.
Rebecca?
Here.
Okay, we have 4-0. We have a quorum. Are there any changes, deletions, additions to the agenda as far as you know?
I don't have any.
Okay. I would look for a motion to approve the agenda as shown.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Rebecca,
I'll second.
seconded by Katie. Other discussion? All in favor of approval, say aye. Opposed? That passes 4-0. We have no scheduled presenters this evening. Reports and communication. We don't have a board rep until closer to fall. Are there any committees that met over the last couple of weeks?
GCD met and they talked about the Five Rivers Online, and now there is a there are videos for both K through 6 online and 6 through 12, and talking just about what that's going to look like for the students if they would like to have online schooling. They have a principal hired. They're all hired for that. They are ready. I think they said they had about 28 enrollments already. And yeah, and some from each of the districts. So it's all coming together nicely. So.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yes. Ed Foundation met Thursday, and they welcomed their new board members and they elected officers. And let's see, they are considering like to put together an Ed Foundation scholarship, so they're going to be working with admin on that. And then, well, that's something they need to get approved too. I don't mean to speak about it out of term, but it's something they're working on. Let's see, they'll be hosting a movie night August 28th. It'll be a Saturday evening, kind of a drive-in sort of thing, down at John Birch. So I guess the movie will be Sandlot, so keep that on your calendar.
Can't go wrong.
And they're just starting to plan some of their other fundraising events. They'll be having a poker run again in October, and then a Coach Purse Bingo in December, and there'll also be a Give to the Max in November. So those are some of the things that they're planning.
I've got some updates. So the facility committee met. We'll be taking a look at the condition of the roof on the CCC to get an understanding of what temporary repairs can be put in place versus long-term goals there. And then we'll be looking at the original questions on the referendum, getting some additional estimates to figure out next steps for some of those pieces. Did that cover it, Jeff?
Pretty much covered.
Okay, I'm learning a lot about roofs, so that's what we're learning. And then the marketing committee met as well. Really good conversations as we've kind of figured out what our purpose is. And of course, on the agenda today, we have the 1-year contract for social school. And then, like I said, looking forward, sort of adding some additional people to that. It sounds like we have someone from the Ed Foundation who'd be interested in joining. So good conversations there, and obviously more to come. So.
Okay. Questions for anybody? Finance committee met, and the bulk of our discussion was where we go with our budget, I believe, and whether or not we're comfortable with that 8 to 12 budget goal that we put in so many years ago. And with school finance being what it is throughout the state, we thought maybe lowering that would be an appropriate endeavor. So we voted as a board to lower that fund balance to,
4 to 6 was passed on to the policy committee, and I believe the policy committee met
so,
last week, and they have a recommendation to bring forward as well.
okay. So at that time, it gets passed forward to the policy committee, and we'll wait for their recommendation.
Yep.
Anyone else have a committee report? Administrative reports? Elementary school, does Jen have anything for us, or does that already get posted?
No, they are out in July, so we won't have any principals joining us tonight.
Okay. And that would include technology, so community ed activities. Reed, what do you have
Yeah,
for
I
us?
can share a little bit here. I got a few things else for action items here as well. But just want to quickly give you an update on Cannon Kids. We're hoping to have something here. We're on probably about our fourth revision plan here. We're going to look at something more administrative assistant type, working on those fine details as well. We're also asking for some of those other lead teachers. We're asking some of those other lead teachers to step up and take a team approach. We already have an opener and a morning supervisor and a closer and an afternoon supervisor. Another one's going to take on some scheduling of the staff, so we're going to continue with that as well. But we do have a position posted, and we're going to look for some kind of answer and hopefully start some interviews on Thursday with that. Billing will also continue to take place in that team approach that's been going on as well. Fall pack dates, parent, athlete, coach for athletics, those will be coming. I've asked each individual head coach for the fall to collectively, individually set something as to what they're going to do that's going to fit their time frame and their entire coaching department. So that's going to be coming out soon. Physicals, and it's a free physical day at Mayo Clinic here tomorrow. That's been blasted out several times. So if you don't have one of those, make sure you're looking to get, there's a number there to call and get set up for that. Last big thing that I want to touch on here, because I had to move one today, official shortage. We've been asked to move at least one of our football games to another date. So we moved our October 1 Friday night to Saturday, October 2nd. And I'm afraid that's going to start trickling down into volleyball as well. Haven't heard anything yet for soccer, but it could be coming. So, and I anticipate that that could change here moving forward into the winter as well.
Questions for Reed? Thank you. No Dave Peterson, Head of Operations. That brings up you.
Yes, I just want to give an update. Since the state of emergency has been lifted by the governor, these meetings now need to be held completely in person with no virtual option for board members. The community will still have the community TV through YouTube as well to watch the board meetings. This will include committee meetings also moving forward. So the ones that are currently scheduled right now will still hold hybrid, but moving forward we need to schedule them to be in person because the board meetings are held in person now, just as an FYI. If board members there is an emergency statute for board members that reverts back to what it was prior to the pandemic if need be. So, but we can discuss that if that ever would come up. Another informational item is the tax increment financing plan that we are part of a tax increment financing district put in through the city of Cannon Falls. And they are notifying us of an apartment complex that is being planned out near McDonald's as part of the tax increment financing plan. And the proposed letter is in the packet there for your review. There is no action needed on this as we are already part of the district, so we can't really get out of that piece. But they are market rate apartments that are planned on being built at this time. I believe there's still planning that is still going on for that project. prior, there is kind of a rumor mill going around that the school district is somehow involved with the financing of that, and that is completely not true. And I believe the city has stated that as well, so I'm not really sure how that got started, but for the official record, the school district is not tied to that whatsoever. So, that is all I have unless you guys have questions.
The other end of your report would be that your recommendations on the agenda item.
Oh, yeah.
Forthcoming,
Yeah,
right?
the rest of the report is just my recommendations and thoughts on the items upcoming.
Okay. Questions for Jeff? Public input. I guess you folks are here for a general reason, it's just not to watch how everything goes. The last time we had a crowd like this was our 9th grade civics class. So, due to data privacy concerns, a speaker may not address criticism toward an individual district employee during public input. Individual complaints must be handled privately with school administrators and/or the superintendent. Comments from visitors must be informational in nature and may not exceed 3 to 5 minutes per issue. The board cannot engage in discussion or debate in those 3 to 5 minutes, but will take the information and find answers if that's appropriate. As part of the board protocol, it is unacceptable for any speaker to slander or engage in character assassinations at a public board meeting. So, I would guess some of you are here for the same topic. And whatever that happens to be, I would ask that rather than have a lot of redundancy in responses, if we could just get 2 or 3 people to speak to your particular issue, that would be very welcome. So, who would like to speak?
I'm Marta Garbarino, and the other person that's here with me is Dr. Julie Hughes. And we brought packets for the board to have. They have your names on them. They have brightly colored sheets, except for yours, Jack, because I ran out of brightly colored sheets. So yours are all plain white.
Yeah.
But anyway, we are very concerned about our children. Obviously, that's why everyone's here. And these packets contain information that may be different from what you hear, but I think it's good to hear all sides of an issue. And they concern I know this is not mandatory in our schools, but it could sometime be things like vaccinations, the mask mandate, and the critical race theory implementation of that agenda. I know that's not happening in Minnesota at this time, but it is happening in some states. And this is dangerous enough that some states have banned it. Therefore, I am concerned because I come from a communist country. And I am seeing some things going around in some directions that have a lot of Marxist tendencies, and they are dangerous. And especially the critical race theory is a racist-based theory, and I think everyone will have to make up their mind on that one. But it is scary to us, and that's why we're here. Your names are on there. I hope you will take the time to read them, because we really care. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm just for her.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to speak to the Marta's comments? Yes, please.
So I actually came more for the tax increment financing proposal, but to their point, the group that they are working with is called the Minnesota Patriots, and I also follow the Minnesota Patriots group as well. And, I just have a few questions as to, when I look through some of the budget items and some of the bills, the monthly bills that are being paid today, it kind of raises some questions as to what the intention of the board here is in relation to social equitable learning, especially since we already adopted achievement and integration plan last month. I guess I'm just wondering what the board's intentions are towards that kind of curriculum being incorporated. Is there any plans to incorporate Project 1619 into any social studies curriculum. Where can we find this information? Does the board, who reviews that, and is it available to us as tax-paying citizens in the school district to review what kind of things are in the curriculum? Thank you.
Thank you. Did you have handouts as well, or?
I
that
do
just
for the
your
tax
information?
increment financing.
If you want to leave them there on the table with the others, we'll pick them up at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else?
On that topic or a different topic?
As long as you're done with topic one, go ahead if you're ready to speak.
Hello, I'm Patricia Reed. I have a son that will be entering second grade. I am concerned about the future of Cannon Falls schools. And I believe a school ought to first desire to serve, educate, and protect their students. Not all topics are meant for public conversation in school or elsewhere. Teachers don't need to, nor should they, share their sexual preferences, political affiliations, or religious beliefs with students. This is the parents' job to teach, not the school's. I believe we are to show honor to all people. All people include our children. I also believe schools were established to serve children and their parents, not to promote social agendas. A transgender individual can and should use a single bathroom elsewhere in the building, not force acceptance of their personal choice. And what about the feelings of girls who are in the girls' bathroom and don't feel comfortable or safe with a bio boy in there with them? When do their feelings matter? A female student should not be made to share a restroom with a transgender teacher or student. This should never have been allowed at our school. Please focus your efforts on educating the children in Cannon Falls, not indoctrinating them. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak?
We have a person online. If they're done here.
That person online read the input, public input. Have they listened to that?
I think so.
Okay.
I'm gonna try to unmute them here.
Yeah. Oh, I can speak.
Joni, have you heard what's been talked about?
I haven't heard anything.
Okay.
I haven't heard anything. All I know is I would like to know what grade they are teaching and what grade they are teaching and what they're going to be teaching. Are they going to be talking about, history, science, stuff like that, or are they going to, what's going to happen with this teacher that hired as a transgender?
First of all, comments are made informational only. We're not seeking opinions directly in a case like this. If you wish to speak to the topic, go ahead and speak to the topic, but you'll have to contact an administrator to see how this would affect you personally or how it affects your children. If you wish to speak during public forum, make it informational, please.
When is public forum at?
You're talking right now. This
Okay,
is,
well, the information I would like to know is what grade is this teacher going to be teaching?
once again, direct this toward the administration at the appropriate time.
Ms. Jacobson, if you put your email, Ms. Jacobson, if you put your email into the chat, I believe that Jeff can follow up with you regarding your question after the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I mean to cut no one off here, but at the same time, we have to be respectful, and we do have parameters that we face here as a board. So I would just like to reinforce that to you. And does anyone else wish to speak to this topic?
Oh, we got a second hand. You wanna go back to online, or do you wanna?
Let's deal in person here. Someone has made the effort.
All right. Again, Dawn Lanning. I did have some notes about this off the agenda as well. I guess the one thing I'm wondering is if there is a policy related to conversations outside the scope of curriculum that's designated for a classroom. And where, again, we would find that policy. So it kind of goes to the whole, where do we find information? I've gone to the school district website, and I really have to dig even to find the school board information, let alone any information about curriculum or policy. And it would be nice, communication-wise, if that was a little bit more readily available for people to find as to what that policy is, what kind of topics are off, are not allowed either in a classroom or outside of the classroom on school grounds, before or after class. That's outside of a teacher's scope. If somebody, if a student needs counseling or some advice, they should be going to a certified therapist or a certified counselor rather than a teacher that's not qualified. So, yeah, that was it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
My questions have been answered, I think, on some of this. And I have questions about our coalition with Red Wing. I was confused by the article I read. There was a few pieces in there that I was questioning, particularly the number 2 goal of increasing our diversity. What are we defining as diversity? I understand that it's racial diversity, but what does that mean? Because I'm guessing that we're probably already advertising to colleges and recruiting as much as we can. So are we going to throw out our merit system, or do we have a merit system? How are we going to change that or put that into effect? My second question is, why is this an issue now? I looked today just quickly, and maybe the sites I found the information in are garbage, but I found a website that compared our numbers, our racial diversity numbers for the last since like 1988, and I looked back into like 2015 and on, and our numbers have not hardly changed. So why is it suddenly that we're diversely isolated now? Why is this becoming an issue? Why are we partnering up with Red Wing, who've had a handful of their own problems in that scope? What is all of that going to look like? Because it seems like it's not a full plan, and I don't understand how it was approved and sent to the state without an actual plan to be communicated to the rest of the community, and what exactly all of that means. And I think with the CRT things going on, that worries people, and it looks like a door to bigger things and what the state starts dictating on down. So those would be my questions. Why now? What's changed? I did find one website where it looked like our entire population, or our white population, almost doubled between 2020 and 2021, which is not accurate. So maybe that was that website's misinformation. But is there something in those numbers that has skewed us to make it look like we have suddenly fallen off the map when it comes to diversity? And I understand we're not a diverse community, but lots of red flags about what those details are going to be and what's coming.
Thank you. Identify yourself, even though I know who you are.
Jennifer Hensley.
Thank you. Do we have one online?
Yeah, we do have one online here. Why can't I get them to?
Just click on, no.
Can they unmute
Yeah,
themselves?
just ask them to unmute and then they can unmute themselves.
Belinda, can you unmute yourself by chance? I'm guessing because we had trouble with people. There we go.
Okay.
Belinda, you should be able to unmute yourself now. Belinda?
If
You probably
click
need
on
to
the
push forward.
microphone-
Hmm?
If you click on the microphone, it might work.
Does anyone else wish to speak?
I just have something very quick to say. I think as a community, because we are a pretty close community, we need to concentrate on things like character, over race. We need to concentrate on things like equality over equity and opportunity over outcomes. This is who we are, I think, as a community, and that's all. Thank you. I'm Marta Garbarino, again.
Jen?
One other question I had after Patty kind of touched on it, the bathroom situation with the things that have been raised publicly. And I have looked up, I understand the school legally has things it can and cannot do. And when I looked up, the state of Minnesota requires for you to provide bathrooms for wherever your people identify. It also requires for you to provide bathrooms that everyone can use whatever bathroom they identify with, student or employee. I have not been able to find anything that talks about when those two things cross over as they do in this school. Is there any way to find information? I don't know if the school would have resources to find what are the laws, where that, what needs to be provided for who, so that our students maybe have options, or the people who are choosing those identities have options, because I feel like there's a gray area, and I have not been able to find the legal information when it comes to the crossover of student with adult.
Thank you.
I think we got Belinda unmuted now. Sorry about that, Belinda.
It's okay. Technology agrees me as well.
Right.
My name is Belinda Cohn. I was there in the last meeting last month. I want to just say before I ask my main question, that last month, when I did address the school board, I asked for a delay of the integration plan decision because I knew that other community members wanted to be informed and up to date with things, which is very apparent now with some of the questions that are coming out about diversity, especially that we're basically aiming at hiring a person of color just for having a person of color within the next 2 years. This was my reason, one of my reasons for asking for a delay, but the show went on last time. My question this evening is also in line with a number of other parents and community members concerned about the math teacher who started very openly a chat thread and the telephone.
Belinda, hang on. Belinda. Go
This
ahead.
is an informational item that you can speak about, not directly speaking about any staff member in any way, shape, or form. So if you can change your approach to whatever statement you're gonna make, that would be appreciated.
I'll redirect. Our teachers at Cannon Falls High School, when they bring up topics that should be private and personal items of their own life, are they allowed to do this? Do they need to get permission from administration? How would permission be granted for a person doing that? And are the parents in the community involved in making a response to what is being shared on a personal and private nature among our students? I put my email in the chat section for Mr. Sampson, so if I could get a response, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Most of the statements that we've gotten so far now seem to carry over. We understand where you're coming from and what your concerns are and the statements that you've made. Does anyone have anything that hasn't been addressed so far when it comes to the two topics, or a third topic if you wish?
Can I read the letter for the tax increment finance?
Can you do what?
The tax increment finance proposal? The TIF
Yep.
proposal?
Can you read it?
Yeah, I just want to read this, like, as part of the meeting.
Sure.
Okay. So, the letter that I actually am submitting to the board, it basically addresses the issue of TIF 2-10 being proposed to finance the Keller-Bartman project plan for the McCannonball lot. The TIF proposal, there's a link to it in the agenda meeting minute, or in the agenda on the website. But some of the highlights from that proposal, the Cannon Falls City Council is looking to approve a TIF project
and fund project costs of nearly $7.3 million, plus an additional $4.4 million allowance for adjustments to project costs that will be spread over 25 years. This requires at least 40% of the units be rented to low-income families. So it is not market rate apartment buildings, it will be low-income families. Expected value of taxes to be collected over the 25 years is only $3.8 million compared to the $11.7 million that they may have funding with a bond. So that basically means that the city of Cannon Falls and ultimately taxpayers will be on the hook for as much as $7.9 million. The expected value of taxes related to the market value increases that's listed in that proposal over the 25-year period is only $158,000. Not enough to offset the cost of $7.9 million. The expected contribution to the school district is only $25,000. And there has been no analysis of the financial burden that a project such as this for 78 units would place on the school district as far as finances. You've already stated that your finances, you're already lowering your cap because the bond referendum didn't pass last year. So, and the one thing, some questions to kind of ask when you're considering this, whether you're going to support or oppose that tax increment funding would be how many total families does the district serve now? And then what is the percent of low-income families that you currently serve? And what percent increase would be represented by this project? What will the cost of the increased burden to the school district be? The school district has already, like I said, has already made it known that their budget is already too low to cover current concerns through their campaign to pass a bond referendum last year that failed. This will make it more difficult for you to meet the goals that you set at your last meeting in the achievement and integration plan, in that you, one of your goals or one of your metrics for that plan is to improve the performance of free and reduced lunch program students. You will have more free and reduced lunch program students, and that'll make it even more difficult for you to meet that goal that you've already set for yourselves. For all of these reasons, I'm asking that the school board make a resolution to oppose this TIF initiative as proposed. All right. Thank you.
Michelle, did you raise your hand? Okay. We'll now close the public input portion. Thank you for your input. Very candid, very straightforward. So we're going to move on to our next agenda item. First, let's take about a 2-minute pause here. Some folks may not want to sit through the meeting, and sometimes there's a disruption with the camera in the meeting itself. So can we just take a 2-minute break here? Again, you're all welcome to stay as long as you want to stay. For kind of a synopsis. Okay, thank you. We're back at it. Consideration to approve the finance report. Mr. Davison?
Yeah. So, I have my glasses on today, I can read the board. We'll go right off of there instead of having fuzzy vision. Top there just be the bank balances as of the printing of the agenda. The small amount that we have at merchant's account. Essentially, funds are HSAs, funds go in and out. Excuse me. And community resources are our main bank account. The combined there at the time of the report is about $2.5 million in cash. And again, important to know that cash balance and fund balance are two different items. Cash is going to show all of the cash, whether it be debt service, community service, food service, general fund, it's all held within there. Reason why outstanding checks would be so high at the time of this report, $515,000. I just sent off a batch of checks when this report was coming in at the beginning of our fiscal year, which is July 1, a lot of payments are made for the year. It could be lease payments for technology, could be just straight out device purchases. There were some debt service interest payments that went out at the middle part of July. That's timed as interest in July and then a principal interest in February. So there's some checks that are outstanding floating. As of today, if we look at them, most of that had been cleared through our bank. A couple of things to note. The expenditures are pretty common for this time of the month, and that really stands out outstanding. But the one item to maybe look at would be the ideas on August 15th. And ideas would be the source of funds directly from the state of Minnesota to the fund school districts. $1.1 million in August 15th, that's a little higher than we would normally see in an ideas payment. That contrasts to the end of July, the July 30th, the $96,000. July 30th, that's going to be kind of a cleanup of the first 90% of the funding of the school district. We receive funds on a 90-10 percentage basis. We received 90% of our current year funding in the current year, 10% of the prior year that comes with it. So that August 15th represents a lot of that cleanup of the 10%. Then the ideas payments kind of goes back down to normal. And it fluctuates a little bit, but it will vary usually, typically throughout the year, around at $800,000 every 2 weeks from ideas or payments from the state to fund school district. As close to the end of this report, it's just through October 15th, and the office will have the whole fiscal year. We stay cash fluid all the way through the fiscal year, not having to do any aid anticipation borrowing. As we go through the fiscal year, as we know, the state wrapped up at the kind of at the wire, the closing of the funding for their budget, of 2.45 for the next fiscal year, and then 2 the following. So when we do our budget revision, there'll be a slight change to that, as it came in a little more favorable, not a huge amount for what we budgeted for, but slightly more favorable. As we go through there, we'll be talking throughout the fiscal year. Cash will be, we're in negotiations now with teachers' master's contract, and then as we get to the end of the fiscal year, all the other contracts will start to be negotiated as well. So, just kind of the quick and snapshot of where we're at for finance as of to date. If you have any questions, I can do my best to answer what you have.
You don't see aid anticipation on the horizon?
No, not currently. There was some talk in June with some business managers and through the state. If the state had not set up a budget and gone into shutdown, that obviously that would also shut down the mechanism to force out payments to districts. And some districts are trying to line up some aid anticipation borrowing as a result of that. We didn't do that. We would have been set in-house through mid-August probably. So we're kind of wait to see what the state had done, and they had set up before the close of the fiscal year of the session. As it goes through, usually we'll hit the lowest of our low spot is generally in February when the debt service payments go out. To be honest, a lot of times, and this happens in districts our size, especially with fund balances as us, we'll be building up that the funds in the debt service to service our, for better words, our mortgage payment in February. So a lot of the cash that we flow is our debt service, so you'll see a big hit to our cash in February. As it sits through the entire fiscal year, we stay positive throughout that payment, and no need for aid anticipation borrowing this year.
Okay, thank you. Mm-hmm. Other questions for Josh? If not, I would look for a motion to approve the finance report as shown.
I'll move to approve.
Brenda?
Second. I'll second.
And Rebecca on the second. Other discussion? All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 4-0. Consent agenda. Items under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted under one motion. In the event a board member wants to discuss any single item, it can be removed from the consent agenda for separate action. Please take a moment to look at this. Jeff always likes to acknowledge the acceptance of gifts as well, so.
Sure. During this time frame, we'd like to thank the state of Minnesota for their donation to Canton Kids of $2,125. Gemini for a $10,000 donation to our robotics program, and Gemini also for a $250 donation to the art department. Thank you very much to our donors.
Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from the last meeting? Do you see any issues or discrepancies there? If not, whenever you're ready, I'd like a motion to approve the consent agenda as you see it.
I make a motion to approve.
Rebecca on the motion,
A second.
seconded by Katie. Other discussion? All in favor of the approval of the consent agenda as shown, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. No old business or some old business, it looks like. Summary statement. End of year superintendent evaluation. We speak twice a year to our superintendent. It's incumbent on us to evaluate his performance. In the beginning of the year, we mutually agree to goals that he carries out during the course of the year, and we meet up with them at the midway point and at the last meeting. Because of the pandemic, we got a little behind on that. But we went into closed session to discuss evaluation and where he's meeting his criteria and if he's meeting his criteria of these goals. So after discussion, everyone sent me their personal review, and I put it into a very concise, very short form because we've already discussed it at length. But the board met in closed session at our last regularly scheduled meeting. We reviewed the 3 goals that were mutually agreed upon with Mr. Sampson. All board members participated in the closed session. There was agreement that Mr. Sampson has met and exceeded expectations on the goals. Although the direction of this past school year focused on the pandemic and its effect on our students, Mr. Sampson was able to steer our school as well as could be expected under the conditions. With the exploration of the marketing committee, we will continue to improve our district communication, and that is a point of emphasis for our board. Okay, so that will become part of Mr. Sampson's permanent file. It's not an action item, so we'll move on from there. Okay. New business. Proposal letter, TIF financing plan 210.
Right, I kind of touched on this. I got a little ahead of myself in my report. Basically, these are the documents from the TIF that we talked about during my report, and the proposed creation of the tax increment financing district for 210 within the development district number 2. I think this has been talked about quite a bit. This is more of an informational item that carries the proposed tax increment financing plan over the years that is in the document here. I don't know if we've had a TIF here that's been a part of the district for quite a while. So this is relatively new. I think the city is trying to bring some of that back to get more development within the community to reinvigorate that. So we might be seeing more of these coming down the line as well. I think it's a good thing for the district. The proposed apartment complex, what's being generated there now is nothing. And so anything is a positive, and plus on an additional outcome that really nobody really thinks about is that that apartment complex will bring in children to the district, which is badly needed at this point. And so the more children that we have in the district, the more income that we generate as a school, and that will help the budget. So lots of positives at this point, because an empty parking lot doesn't create anything.
We're talking the cannonball section, right? That's,
Yep.
That's where this,
Yep.
okay.
So the documents here
Yeah.
online, obviously we're not gonna go through every piece of the document.
This is just informational tonight?
Yep.
Right, okay.
Okay.
Will there be an action item for us? It's
Nope.
just more informational?
No, it's
So the public
there's no
hearing,
need.
that is
This is more
for the city?
that's for the city, yeah.
Yep.
I just wanted to clarify.
So this is just letting us know
that they're moving, yeah.
moving
that
forward.
this is coming up in the
Yeah.
city.
Yep.
Okay.
That's all I have on that.
All right. Moving on, consideration to approve the 21-22 dairy bids, which is on page 32 of your very thick packet.
Bob, you really should have carried the moo on that one and moving on.
Oh, gosh.
Sorry.
Wow. Oh, gosh. You were thinking about that one for a
I was
while.
waiting for the dairy bids.
I can go through it, there's more information they need there, but it's kind of an amalgamation of prior boards and what kind of information they were looking for. Only one bidder for the milk, Hastings Creamery, and there are two bids. You can go escalator clause, and that means the price will vary throughout the year depending on the market, or firm price. The district has generally gone with the escalator clause. That's the reason for that section in the middle, the FY21 escalator clause effect. We actually, by going with the escalator clause last year, saved about $1,500 in milk, rather than locking into a firm price. I don't know what's going to go on with milk each year, but generally, as we've gone through, we've been at or close to breaking even with that. So it would be the recommendation of us to go with the escalator clause again with Hastings Co-op. What we do is look at what fiscal year 21 use is. Quite a bit lower than we would normally have in a regular year. We usually spend about $45,000 to $50,000 in milk a year. With COVID and being out of the building, we saw far less usage in a lot of the milk. But in terms of the amount of each milk, in terms of percentage, what kids drink, that stayed pretty similar. We like our chocolate milk here. So I guess I would look at the bottom, if you want to just take a look, if you want to see an overall increase, if you could just kind of scroll up just a little bit.
Yep.
That yellow highlight just kind of pulls in what the actual increase from prior year was for us. It's about a 1.67% increase from last year for milk bid. So I guess it would be our recommendation that we go with the Hastings Co-op and the escalator clause bid from them.
The Creamery, Hastings Creamery has been our partner for 10 years, I would bet, right?
Yep, gone through a little bit of change. It was Plainview Co-op for a few years, same company, bought up by Plainview. Hastings Co-op has since bought it back, but same vendor. And as far as I'm aware, great service and no issues with them.
So it's kind of a moot point because Hastings are only bidder, but you're also recommending that escalator clause.
Yeah, but just looking back at not only prior year, but years in past, we've done fairly well with having the escalator clause. The firm price is set a little bit higher just because they're covering their bases on it.
Okay.
Other questions for Josh? So I'd look for a motion to approve the dairy bid with Hastings and using the escalator clause as recommended.
I make the motion.
Just dying to do
I
it.
so move
move
to
to
approve.
Okay, and who is our second mover?
I'll second.
Thank you for humoring me.
Okay, we have a motion, the second on the floor, to approve Hastings with the escalator clause. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 4-0. Consideration to approve the 21-22 Coach Advisor Handbook. Reed?
So I sent this out to members who agreed to be on our extracurricular committee and heard back from a few of them. This is a handbook that I have used in past districts that I've been at. I've sent this out to some of the head coaches that were also not part of, that did not want to be part of that extracurricular committee. So this would be a good starting point for us as we move forward here. There is quite a bit of detail here. It's just meant for them to have a reference to go back should they need any quick answers to questions such as end of the season. There's a copy of their evaluation form that would be in there, the uniform rotation. We did include the advisors in here. I could see potential discussion as we move forward here and revise it to create a separate advisor handbook at this time next year. But we'll see how this goes. That was part of the feedback that I got from one of the members on there as well.
I had a question. Is this a totally new handbook? So we didn't have one prior to this, or is this just?
It was a mix. The one that I
Okay.
did find was just for a new coach
Okay,
only.
so this will
And
be
then we
for
found
all,
something- Yes.
and this
yes,
will,
Yes.
okay.
And then I tried to revise a lot of the relevancy that we do already currently have in our district, and we'll continue, we'll take it to that committee, and we'll make those revisions as to this works, this doesn't fit, we'll make
Perfect.
this changes, et cetera.
Sounds good.
Where can this be found for others that want to review it? Is it in our,
We'll work at getting it on the website, yes,
okay?
Under the athletic.
probably.
It's a hefty document. Has anybody had a chance to look at it or have any
Yeah.
concerns?
It was good.
thorough.
It was very thorough.
Okay. When you're ready,
I feel like it's clear about what the expectations are.
Yeah.
Sure.
thank you for your work on
Yes,
this and
thank
for
you.
bringing it in.
Yep, thank you.
Okay. Motion from anyone to approve the handbook?
I'll make a motion to approve the handbook.
Katie on the motion. Second?
I'll second.
Not a lot of us here in a second. Rebecca on the second. Other discussion? All in favor of the, I guess, revised 21-22 coaches handbook, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. Consideration to approve the 21-22 final fundraiser list. Reed?
Yeah, the updated ones that we have here, they are in red, they're a little bit difficult to see on the screen. It's for girls' basketball, robotics, and yearbook are the only additions.
We've approved this in basic
Yep.
form some
Yep.
time ago. We were just waiting for these last two or three.
Yep, that is correct.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Brenda on the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Katie on the second. Other discussion? All in favor of the approval of the 21-22 fundraiser list, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. 21-22 fall head and assistant coaches. Reed, you're up.
Not many changes here. Volleyball, we do have a new assistant coach there with Rocky, who's one of our PE teachers. Jen Narrison was in that role last year. She's moving down to RCTC as the head coach. Another change is girls soccer. At conversation, Josh Banks is coming back in a co-head coach role with Erica. That's part of action item number 7. Josh did resign here, I believe, in June, was approved by the board, has accepted a new teaching position here in the district as a special ed, takes up a lot of writing time with his IEPs. He's also taking some grad school classes as well. Reason we're gonna go with the co-head coach is he's gonna have to miss a little bit here early on, once we get those dates solidified. Erica does not have her head coach certification, so we're gonna use Josh's in that aspect. And if it gets to a point where it's a game day and Josh is not available, we'll need to send somebody with that head coach certification to be on the sideline. Okay, so we'll make sure that we get all that covered.
Questions?
And then the only other change is in boys soccer, where we had a co-JV coach last year. This year we do not. And the last bit is that I'm still waiting on a choreographer for the musical.
Reed, how difficult is it to plug in coaches these days?
Well, I will tell you this is the least amount of turnover that I've had in a long time. So that is extremely positive, and that speaks kind of to what we're gonna talk about in our why we play and transformational and building a culture and the culture that we have within our programs. And also a lot of it is that we have teachers in the building that are doing a majority of our coaching. So that speaks volumes, for sure.
If you have any questions for Reed, now's the time. Otherwise, I'd look for a motion to approve the fall head and assistant coach list as shown.
I make the motion to approve.
Rebecca on the motion,
I'll second.
seconded by Katie. Other discussion? All in favor of the approval of these coaches, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. Consideration to approve the 21-22 membership to the Minnesota State High School League. Why we play video.
So this is the video, is the same one as last year. This is the second go around. I would say about 6 years ago, the high school league announced an initiative on why we play, asking for purpose versus goal, transformational versus transactional, being intentional coaches. Some of these people that are in this video are no longer in these roles, so it'll be interesting to see if next year becomes a repeat performance of the same video or if we come out with something different. Well, see, it's about 6.5 minutes. And then I will share some of our purpose statements that they're going to talk about in this, some of the purpose statements from our fall head coaches.
And this is a required training for,
Yeah.
just in case we're not watching this just for the heck of it. It's, for us to be a member of the State High School League, we need to have this training. So,
And Jeff, after you hit play, hit that bottom right square for large.
By the time students reach middle school,
Yep.
their families have already spent an incredible amount of time, energy, and resources on their child's sports experiences.
Private coaches, tryouts, travel tournaments, and increasing pressure to specialize in a single sport at an early age.
The reality is less than 3% of our athletes will ever go on to play college, and less than 1% of our athletes will ever play professionally.
This means 97% of students will have a terminal experience. When they graduate, their competitive playing days are over. So what's the purpose?
The purpose is the human growth and development of our students and connecting them to caring adults in their learning community.
For this to happen, it takes leadership and a community aligned around this purpose.
The purpose of a caring adult in students' lives has never been more important. Students face an incredible amount of pressure. There's peer pressure and social pressure and academic pressure and pressure to perform on the playing field or in the arts area. And what that's resulting in is a mental health crisis where kids are facing anxiety and depression. There's a study called Hardwired to Connect that identifies 3 fundamental needs that every human being has. The need to belong, the need to have some type of moral development, and we define moral as relationships to other people. And then that base community, which is really being held accountable to a set of expectations and boundaries. Athletic and activity programs can really provide a caring community for students. It's a place for them to be connected. It takes leadership to intentionally create connections and to create a culture that supports students in a caring community.
My purpose statement is to coach to create a love of the game and foster community and growth among our student athletes.
Sit your weight forward and backward. Good. The AD is the front-facing public person that's really leading the charge for all of the things that happen within that program that again are so beneficial to the student.
A strong activities director, athletic director is going to have the pulse of their school, is going to influence and impact the students through others and create that experience that we're looking for all kids.
In my particular role as the activities director, I call it leading from the middle out. I need to work with my principal and my superintendent, and I need to work with my school board to understand what purpose-based activities are, what they look like, what they should feel like with our student athletes. And then I need to train coaches, work with athletes, work with our student body.
The value of a strong activities director for the entire system is something that I can't put a price tag on. We've got 3 brand new board members. And it's important for school board members to understand the purpose of our activities and athletic programs. so that they remember their role in supporting our work and supporting our staff and in supporting our activities director and what he does.
There you go.
We are really here to change the arc of every athlete's life. I think the most important thing I do is connect students to each other, connect students to the school day, connect students to meaningful adults.
We want to win a state tournament. We want to have a winning record. But what's most important than that is having a winning culture.
It's all about the student experience, and that doesn't necessarily equate to winning, but that equates to being able to walk away saying, I had fun, I got better, I did the best that I could, I want to continue, I know more about myself, and I'm more prepared for whatever might come my way in the future.
We have to align our communities in order for athletic administrators and coaches to be supported.
Our school board knows that we're about more than just wins and losses, that we're part of the educational program and part of the educational system. It's great to be able to show up at work every day knowing that you're supported by your school board, your superintendent, and your principal, and that you have the ability to support your coaches, athletes, participants, and their families. It's very important that you have all of those important stakeholders in alignment and that they understand what the common language is and what it means to have a successful experience.
My purpose as a captain is to use the sport of baseball to help teach life lessons that'll help people down the road.
The adults are purposeful and deliberate about engaging with students about something bigger than themselves. I may do it in my social studies classroom by teaching history, and I may then later do it in my role as a softball coach, but the experience that the kids get, that alignment that is tied through, is that we are here to impact your life in a positive way.
There's no more rewarding feeling for me as an activities director to hear them say that they became a better person through their participation in our activities.
I think the greatest thing that a school board can do is to define success, to publicly state that here's how we are going to define success within our school community. Are we growing and developing better people? Are we modeling the kind of character that we want our students to leave our school communities with and go into the world with? Awareness is critical. We have to be aware of the purpose of why sports are part of our school community. And finally, not only do we have to hold our coaches accountable, we have to hold our school communities accountable to the transformative power of what sport can be. And that is connecting students to caring adults in their learning community.
I think the biggest thing there that they touched on, the one superintendent touched on it there, is just making those connections. And we're so what's the word I'm trying to say, fortunate that so many of our teachers are also coaches, and are able to connect with them in the classroom, connect with them in the hallway, in the lunchroom, etc. Not saying that we can't do that for coaches that aren't in the building, that don't work for the district, but it's another way that they can connect and build and foster those relationships, which is so important. So I just got a couple here, and full disclosure, some of you parents here, if you've had to look at the high school league website page here these last year, it is not something fun to try to navigate. The old website, I could go to my admin site and click on the coach's education report, and I could pull up everybody's purpose statements. I'm not able to do that this year. I reached out to several ADs. I reached out to the high school league and didn't get a response. But I think that as you read some of these here, you aren't going to be surprised in what you're reading, and it's just a direct correlation as to the culture we have. Dan Myers is our head football coach. Melissa Youssef is our head volleyball coach. Morgan Schwartz is our cheer coach. Paul Norset is our head girls tennis coach. So very fortunate and very blessed to have those people leading our programs.
Any questions for Reed? Annually, we have to approve our membership to the Minnesota State High School League. So essentially, that's what they're asking right here. So I would look for a motion to approve the high school league membership for the upcoming year.
It's a resolution?
Yes.
Is it a resolution?
Yep. It doesn't say that on the...
Doesn't say that on the Bob minutes, but...
I just saw it up there.
Yeah, good. So You are toward the back, I think,
Do we
right?
need a motion or not?
56.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
56,
Yeah.
thank you.
Motion,
It's a little easier to read.
I'll move, I'll make the motion.
Linda on the motion, do we have a second?
You got it.
I'll second.
Katie. Any other discussion? Okay, clerk?
Resolution for membership in the Minnesota State High School League. Resolved that the governing board of school district number 252, county of Goodhue, state of Minnesota delegates the control, supervision, and regulation of interscholastic athletic and fine arts events to the Minnesota State High School League, and so hereby certifies the State Commissioner of Education as provided for by Minnesota statutes. Do you keep going, or that's good?
enough.
Okay. And so we'll just do a roll call vote.
A yes vote would be for approval of the membership, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Bob?
Yes.
Brenda?
Yes.
Rebecca?
Yes.
And Katie, yes.
Okay, that passes by a 4-0 vote. I circled the resolutions ahead of time, so I didn't know when they're
Great.
coming.
No, and I
Right.
didn't notice it until it popped up there.
Number 7, consideration to approve the 19 through 21 teacher master agreement Schedule C change.
This is just to show what we had talked about earlier about taking it from a head coach and a JV coach to co-head coaches.
Okay. Look for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Katie on the motion, Rebecca on the second. Other discussion? Okay.
I guess I have one question. So if this would go back to just a head coach, will we have to change
This
it
would be
again?
just for this year only.
So this would be the, okay,
If we need to do anything
Oh,
moving
so-
forward, we would.
just through 2021, it says. Is that wrong?
What, Jeff, since the contract's being negotiated, is this a change to the prior contract? Or master agreement?
Right, it would be changing the prior contract, but moving forward, we're kind of in that weird spot
Okay,
right now,
gotcha.
so.
Okay, any other questions? All in favor of the approval of the 19 through 21 teacher master agreement, Schedule C, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Consideration to approve the 21-22 SOUP goals.
In that closed session, it was agreed upon to stick with the current goals that we have, and if somebody else has a different memory of that, please let me know.
No?
Nope.
So we are going to highlight the 2021 school year stuff that was done, and then we'll add in the 2021-22 school year items that will be added into that, or into those goals as well.
Questions?
I believe it was because we felt like you had a very good run at them, but many of them got delayed because of the pandemic.
There's a few
Like,
things that.
quite a few things that got delayed, and so we'd like to give you another year to complete those.
Yeah.
I'll move to approve.
Brenda on the motion,
Second.
second by Rebecca. Other discussion? All in favor of the approval of the extension of goals for the upcoming year, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Consideration of the resolution approving School District 252, Cannon Falls area schools.
I think you missed one.
Yes, I did.
Yep.
Yes, I did.
It looks the same.
That's
It's
right.
different.
Okay. Resolution approving the School District 6051, Goodhue County Ed District Long-Term Facility Maintenance 10-year plan.
Yeah, this is a yearly item that not only does the GCED district have to have each member school approve the expenditures and revenue allocations, but you will see in the next item on the agenda, we have to do that as a district as well. And so if Josh could maybe talk about that a
Yeah,
little
just kind
bit.
of in general, so long-term facilities maintenance is a plan by the state to help districts with deferred maintenance, and health and safety is kind of there as well. But In order for the funding mechanism to work, the state requires submission each year of a 10-year revenue and expenditure plan for long-term facilities maintenance. GCD, because we're part of the group of schools that, or districts that are involved in the district, we need to approve it just as other districts need to in order for Goodhue County District to submit their plan to the state. Ours would be a standalone as it's just for our district on the next item. One thing that would follow from this one into ours that would be the same is on their revenue sheet is about $13,000 for our district, our portion of it. And that flows into our revenue sheet then too. Basically it will offset, but it's a levy, obviously, so it reduces our levy ability by that amount, but that's a common number you'll see between the two, Ag District and the Cannon Falls School District.
Questions, team? It will be resolution when we get to it, but I would look for a motion first.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Katie on the motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I can do it. I'll second.
Rebecca on the second. Other discussion? Clerk?
Pursuant to due call and notice thereof, a school board meeting of School District Number 252, State of Minnesota was held on July 26, 2021 at 6 p.m. for the purpose in part of approving the Education District's long-term facility maintenance budget. Is that all I need to read? Okay. So I'll do roll call. Bob?
Yes.
Yes vote. Brenda?
Yes.
Rebecca?
Yes.
And Katie, yes. Pass 4-0.
Okay, moving right along. Consideration of the resolution approving School District 252 Cannon Falls Area's long-term facility maintenance 10-year plan.
This is the same item, but for at a district level that Josh had just talked about.
Do we hear a motion to approve the resolution?
Make the motion to approve.
Rebecca on the motion,
I'll second.
second
Read
by
the
Katie.
second part.
Any other discussion? Clerk, you can read on.
From that one, resolution approving.
Yeah.
Down? Okay.
That would make more sense, yeah.
Resolution approving Cannon Falls Area School District Number 252 Long-Term Facility Maintenance 10-Year Plan. Be it resolved by the School Board of District Number 252, State of Minnesota as follows. The School Board of District 252 has approved the Long-Term Facility Maintenance 10-Year Plan for the Cannon Falls Area Schools Number 252 facilities for 2021 through 2031. The various components of this plan are attached. So a yes vote would pass. Bob?
Yes.
Brenda?
Yes.
Rebecca?
Yes.
And Katie, yes.
Good eyesight.
That passes by a 4-0 vote. Moving along, consideration to approve the policy 714 fund balances.
This item was talked about a little bit earlier in the meeting. The Finance Committee recommended moving the fund balance target from 8 to 12 undesignated down to, I believe, 4 to 6 in here. This recommendation was sent to the Policy Committee, which the Policy Committee met last week and passed along this recommendation as well to the board.
So in our discussion at the Finance Committee, we did talk like it's been a long time since we resolved this fund balance issue that we've had. And we need to make it more of a moving target and amend it as a recommendation from the Finance Committee periodically, right?
Yeah, I think the idea was to let's set a realistic goal, attain that goal, reassess, and then set another realistic goal and kind of keep stepping it up as we go through getting our fund balance squared back away again.
Okay.
So is this going to be something we reevaluate then, once we?
I think as we go through the Finance Committee process, I think that'll come up probably on a yearly basis.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
Where's our fund balance at now? If
What
we
should our goal
achieve
be?
that 4 to 6%, let's reassess where we're at.
Okay.
And then do we need to raise it up, because the auditors are gonna probably put something in a report that says that they recommend 8 to 12. That's probably what set the original policy, but realistically, there's a lot of schools in the area even that aren't even close to that. They're in the 4 to 5 to 6%, but that's just the way of education today. They
Right
just don't
now.
have that savings account.
Okay.
Realistically.
I think just one kind of a big thing, it's unassigned general fund balance. Our total general fund balance would include things as like designated for separation of benefits, something, funds that are required and set aside
For certain
purposes,
things.
Yeah.
Yep.
And what this is saying is our unassigned, so this is the day-to-day operating business of the district.
Right.
I think when the policy was originally set, the state and county and the ASB had not gone and separated all the different general funds. So you would have district general fund balance.
Sure.
Now as they broken it out into assigned, unassigned,
Right.
undesignated, those sort of things, it kind of calls us into kind of review this a little bit too. So this is totally just unassigned operating funds for the district. Auditors are going to tell us 8 to 16 is that'd be 1 to 2 months of district's operating expenditures.
Right.
But as we talk through finance, and looking at that unassigned, that this is more of a goal that realistic and achievable, something that we can strive to go towards and then reevaluate as we hit those marks.
So as soon as we hit those marks,
I
reevaluate
think
to see
so, to
if we can
Push
do better.
forward to higher. Yep.
Sustain.
Gotcha. Okay. Makes sense.
Okay. I would look for a motion to approve the policy 714 fund balance amendment, I guess.
I'll make a motion.
Brenda on the motion,
A second.
seconded by Katie. Other discussion?
Josh, I have a question. Do you know what our goal is for the total fund balance, not the undesignated?
Generally, they want to look at, especially now they're separated into undesignated, designated, whatever. They look at the unassigned. And the reason being is our obligations for other post-employment benefits could vary depending on the age of the workforce, where they're at in terms of getting ready to retire. So that could fluctuate, and you can't put an assigned number on that. What they're really looking at is what is the sustainability of the district on a day-to-day to operate their business. So it really is going to be the unassigned fund balance that they're going to want to have their eye on. In theory, you could have 0 for those other designated funds, or a real high balance. It's going to be really, it's going to vary widely from district to district. We may be setting aside funds for track improvement or other big things that other districts may not. But the unassigned fund balance is going to be pretty consistent district to district because that's what it's going to take for districts to run their operations every day.
Okay. We have a motion, and a second on the floor to approve the policy 714 fund balance amendment. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Consideration to approve the 21-22 mandatory list of policies.
This is an item each year that MSBA recommends passing these list of policies, which are found on our website. These are the basis policies is the best way to describe that, Lori?
Yep.
Yeah.
I've dug into these several times through the years, as you would probably guess, but I would have to agree that sometimes they're not the easiest to find.
They
So
are,
if we can-
yeah.
If we can post that somewhere on its own, that just shows district policies or something like that, it might be an easier read for everyone.
I'm on the policy committee for GCED too, and they're harder to dig into. Like they're not easy to come by. So, but I don't know. There's so many of them. That are state mandated and all these different things that they're hard to. It would be hard anywhere to find the exact one you're looking for, but maybe there'd be better search engines out there or something. I don't know.
It's always nice because there's, usually with the policies, there's a correlation to the state statutes as well, so it's easy to find statutes which guide us.
Maybe Googling those and Googling the statutes, we could find the policy easier. I've had to do both. So I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the 21-22 mandatory list of
Mandatory list of
policies. Second,
I'll second.
Rebecca on the second. We have a motion, a second on the floor. Any other discussion? All in favor of the approval of the mandatory list of policies, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Consideration to approve the 21-22 annual list of policies as found in policy 208 development.
Yeah, these policies are also required to be passed and reviewed each year by the school board. And we need approval.
Look for approval.
And from what I saw, none of them have changed.
I'll make a motion.
Brenda on the motion. What did you just say, Katie?
None of them,
None of them
we went,
changed.
none of them had changed from the last year.
Previous year?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
We just did these at GCD.
Motion by Brenda, seconded by...
I'll second.
Katie.
Yeah.
Other discussion? All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Consideration to approve the Family Medical Leave Act request, September 5 to October 5.
This is for Stephen Strauss, and I recommend approval.
I will approve FMLA request.
I'll
for
second.
Stevens.
Katie on the approval, Rebecca on the second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Consideration to approve the change of associate principal to assistant principal.
In the historical context of the district having assistant principals, the new ones start off as associate principals, and then after gaining a year of experience, they have been moved to assistant principal, which is a more appropriate contract for them and competitive regionally with them. If we don't do that, they are actually making less than a lot of the teachers and have more days, and I would assume would move on. We have seen that in the past, and it becomes a revolving door. And so historically, the district has moved associates to assistants.
Look for a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Rebecca,
I'll second.
second. Discussion. Okay, all in favor of the approval from associate principal to assistant principal, say aye. Opposed? That is carried. Consideration to approve the one-year contract for whatever that is.
Social
Social school for EDU,
I
and
can
once
read
I
it, but I
get
just don't understand what that sign is.
It's that
Hashtag.
hashtag, Bob. So,
we'll get Bob up to speed here.
yeah,
when he
we'll
gets-
get you a Twitter account, Bob.
That's oh, I don't, well,
I don't think you do. So this is, came from the marketing committee. You know, I think one of the goals we've talked about is communication and sort of how we can push out, you know, different messages, utilizing a lot of the way that I think folks are engaging with what's going on in the school. This consulting agreement, it's budget neutral. We have the money budgeted for it, already allocated. It's just approving the contract. But they offer a wide variety of services. They would work with us on the management of the social media platforms. It's a really integrated process that I think is going to allow us to talk about what our students are doing in the classrooms, to highlight some of the unique programs that we're offering, as well as, I mean, we've heard from Reed all of the things that are coming out of athletics and with the coaches. And so this would give us that opportunity to sort of develop that more. So.
I think it's a good way to tell our story of
Yep.
what's all the good things that's going on in Cannon Falls Public Schools, to highlight not only our students but our staff and the amazing things that they do on a day-to-day basis with our children here. I think that's a good way to promote that out, and I think that's maybe one obvious piece that is missing, and as part of the goals as well. I think from there, I think we can brand to say this is what we do here, and this is the end product that we have. as, we do that already, we have great end products, obviously, but we want to make sure that we have that all wrapped in a nice little bow at the end, so.
I think we just want to try, I mean, this is that 1-year contract to see if there's value to that, and then we can reassess moving forward.
I think it's a great way for new families, young families, surrounding areas to get that information. It's not necessarily going to help with some of like the pushing out into the community of people who don't necessarily use that type of, but I think it would be a great way for, you know, getting our message and our story out there to new families and the younger population who are looking for a school for their kids.
Our marketing committee was kind of started as ad hoc, and it's not that old. You and Anna
Yeah.
are our representatives. How's that been going so far?
Good. We've had 2 meetings, right? Or did I miss one? Nope, 2 meetings. It's all blending together at this point. So a lot of good conversations and good collaborations. And like I said, I think we are just sort of looking at what our options might be and sort of areas of opportunity. But I do feel like we have a lot of, I think, good things happening in the district and an opportunity to start to tell that and to share that a little bit more. So like I said, we are kind of clarifying that role and purpose and the scope of that, and look forward to pulling more folks into that conversation. So
I appreciate you taking the bull by the horns on that. Both you and Anna, thank you. Okay, consideration to approve the 1-year contract as recommended by Rebecca from the marketing committee. Motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Brenda on the motion. Second.
Go ahead.
I'll second.
Seconded by Rebecca. Other discussion? All in favor of the 1-year contract for social school for EDU consulting? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 4-0. Thank you. Okay, we come to the end of our meeting. Thank you all for staying. This is kind of what we do on a regular basis here, and you're absolutely invited anytime. You're welcome to come. We appreciate seeing masses here, so thank you very much. That being said, you can see what's on the informational items for our next board meeting, the Truth in Taxation. Set a date, right?
Yep.
Consideration to approve the 21-22 restrictive procedures, MSBA policy revisions, consideration to approve the mentor program, review of the strategic plan, and resolution authoring transfer from general fund to food service, procedural matters, presentation of the EDA, and anything else that happens to come up that we can put on the agenda for the upcoming meeting. Having said that, I would look for a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Rebecca, second.
I'll second.
Second by Katie. Other discussion? All in favor of ending our meeting right now, say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are finished. Thanks again for coming.